right, welcome back, YouTube. Welcome back, everyone. Going to do an update here because I know Barry has sent some shockwaves around the market. And I was talking about this actually in my Patreon last week. I noticed the price of puts on the market was astronomically high. It has, and this is the overall market. This is not pertaining specifically to Dogecoin, but I'm talking about like SPY and some of the huge market indicators in the stock market. The price of these puts were going through the roof, and typically that indicates that it's been a bipartisan. It's weighing really heavy on one side. They kind of taking control over what direction that they believe the market is going to go, and that was looking to the downside as of last week. And then of course the news broke that Barry has bet, I think, like 1.9 billion that the market is going to, like I say, tank, but have a dip to the downside for sure. And of course, when you start having news and stuff like this, it's a portion of it is obviously propaganda. And then, of course, you have people who simply invest specifically based off of what they read in the news. So if the news tells them that's going to be good, you're going to see people flow into the market. If they tell them it's going to be bad, you're going to see them panic and start selling it. So it just kind of creates like a domino effect. And we're seeing some effects of that and some of the indicators across the market. Like earlier today, we're seeing things like Tesla, Apple, Bitcoin, obviously Dogecoin, stuff like that, all having red days. We have some green in the market as of like a couple hours ago, but a lot of the market indicators and some of those big cryptos and companies are experiencing some pullbacks today, which for me, overall, I think is a great thing. But we're going to take a little dive here into the charts and kind of see what's going on. And typically what we saw was when we have this break, this is kind of picking up where I left off in the last video. We have this breakaway conviction here. Typically, we indicate that's an indicator that we're going to have a run to about 10 cents. And just so you guys know, that's never, even if you look here in the past, it's never a smooth run. You'll see we have this, let's go here. You have this break here above, this rebound, you have this dip down and some sideways movement, and then you'll have the go up and the retest. And the same thing here, you have the breakaway conviction, consolidation back down almost immediately, and some sideways movement, and then you have the retest. And you have the breakdown below it, a lot of sideways activity. Then you have the big breakdown here, and this is kind of where we've been as far as for rebuilding back up. Now, overall, this is I'm not going to say it's specifically news based, but I will say that the news played a big part in this. And when you have, especially when you have very influential people shorting the market, you're going to see massive shorts overall in the market come in. And let's take a look here at Doge shorts, but I'm willing to bet that we're going to see a huge spike in there. Yep, we're seeing a big rebound here with these green candles kind of forming here, bouncing off of the 72 and the 200. And we're on par with the highest amount of shorts that we've had since March. So this is literally what I've been talking about. When you start seeing some big names saying, hey, we're going to short the market, people start running toward their favorite assets to short because they believe that that dip is coming on. If you have like some evidence here and like the macros and stuff, you'll see people trying to get in line with that to say, okay, I need to position myself for a downturn in the market. So that's going to attract some of the shorters who favorite Dogecoin and other coins and stuff like that to short. You'll see them kind of start taking position. So again, that is to be expected. Let's take a look here. I'll come back to Doge, but I want to kind of look at some macros here and overall. Yeah, Bitcoin as well, down to 27. Finally got it to break away from that 29 range. Headed toward the 200-day. And we'll say this. Bitcoin hits the 200-day. That is a very strong buy signal, especially below it. That'll be a great opportunity to buy. You see what happened last time we hit the 200-day here. But when you're certainly below it, that's kind of like Doge being below that 7 range. it is it's very difficult to lose money when you're acquiring the assets below that. So in my opinion, I think this will be we hit this 200-day or certainly go below it. Anything in this range below just around like 26,000, so I'm talking at $1,000. It's going to be a great buy over on the long term for Bitcoin, because you see it has massive explosiveness when it's below the 200-day, and you have the opportunity here to double, triple, and really the short term, because this is less than a year. So this is not something like a 5-year plan. So just kind of keep that in mind here. That's be a great opportunity to kind of acquire that. Let's take a look. I'm gonna go back to Doge really quick. Yeah, remember this range here. This is the broader range. This is typically where we're able to kind of grab liquidity as a community in this range here. So Doge being in this is kind of similar to what I was speaking of in Bitcoin being at that 200-day or below it. It's very difficult to lose money based off historics here, because we rebound out of this range so far literally 100% of the time. So I don't like to say anything's guaranteed, but based off of history, this is typically a great range to jump in here. So, and overall, this is not necessarily Dogecoin specific, because I see comments and stuff saying, "Oh, we're supposed to go to." You said that we had a great chance of going to 10 cent. Yes, and that's not. It's never immediate. There's always like variables or sideways movements and stuff in here, and this isn't a Dogecoin specific thing. Now, would I say this is a broken trend, and then we may have to do a reset and rebuild that momentum up? Yes, if it only applied to Dogecoin, but this isn't a Dogecoin thing. This is a market pullback here. So we may see some grabbing some liquidity here, but it's not saying that the trend overall is going to break. Now, this trend, as far as for support and stuff like that, that is breaking the formation. But as far as for the general direction of the market, that's not saying that rally to 10 cents is going to happen. But this is saying that, okay, may have a pullback in the market, and we have to go grab some liquidity. This is typically, you can think of this as like the liquidity zone. So we'll see as far as for building that momentum up and having that run. But this isn't a Dogecoin thing. This is a market thing. So this kind of, I know some people are heavily invested in certain areas, so they don't typically look on a broader scale. But just kind of keep that in mind here. Kind of have to look at the macros as well when you're investing, so that you're not just looking at on a micro level, because you always feel like something's happening specifically to you, and sometimes it's a little bit bigger than that. So just gonna keep that in mind here. Let's go. We'll look at one more thing. Look at Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum's falling through the floor too, below the 200-day, which for Ethereum as well, this is really good. You see that same type of explosive action. And even here, when the last few times when it touches the 200-day, you have those rallies. So even right now, I'd say even at current prices, this is good for Ethereum here, especially if you can get a 1600 roughly, that'll be even better, because you may have a run down here to retest this level to grab some liquidity. But historically, this is below that 200-day, has been great for Ethereum for, let's see, for the last year and a half. Yeah, I said last year and a half, because even when it dipped below here back in January of last year, 2022, it dipped below. It still came back up and retested before it had its overall correction. So that 200-day is a very serious level for Ethereum. So I say at these prices and lower, if you're a long-term in Ethereum, want some exposure, these are great prices. Yeah, overall, we're still in the meat range here, that's what I would call, or the mass liquidity range. So nothing shocking has happened, but we have seen an increase, obviously, in shorts, and that's to be expected with the news that's going on overall in the market. If we're looking at a reset to grab liquidity before we have the push upward and stuff like that, this is a great range, but ideally the lower the better. So if you are trying to get in here, this would be the time to kind of catch it, because from here to what we normally see in these ranges here, buying down here in around 5 cents, that's 100% return, even at 10 cents. So even at some of these ranges here, without it pushing into the teens or something like that, you have the opportunity to get 100% return just on some regular movement that we see here without any major catalyst. So obviously the lower the better. So for me personally, I'd be looking to get in down here, but there's no guarantee it's going to go that low, because typically we'll have a flash crash into this range and then it kind of hangs out here. So, but we'll see. But overall, I do think that we may see a turn in the markets here, because we're seeing a lot of money get pushed to the downside. And unfortunately, when you start seeing shorts get taken, shorts kind of get counted immediately as a sell against assets. So we can see a push down in overall in the market. But where I do think that even as we close out this year and go and transition into the fourth quarter and going into next year, I do think that we're going to see that swing to the upside. So even now, over the next few months, before we have a general turn of direction in the market, I do think this is, at least in my opinion, what I'm doing. I think this is acquisition time, and acquiring some of the bigger tech companies, like I was saying, like Apple and stuff. And of course, some of the crypto, Bitcoin, and Doge. I'm taking advantage of these opportunities here. So if we get one or two more pullbacks before the turn of the market, I'll be very pleased with that. Let me know your thoughts, comments, and stuff like that in the comment section, and I'll respond to as many of you as possible. Thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Try it.